In the first half of the 60s, Irwin Allen was a busy guy. He had two major hits going, Lost in Space and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. He also produced one in 1966 that should have been a hit, The Time Tunnel. Everything seemed to wrap up around 1968, and suddenly he needed a new show to keep him busy. He had already cranked out 12 episodes of a new one, and it was supposed to be a mid-season replacement, premiering in January of 1968. But it's hard to have a mid-season replacement when you don't replace anything in the mid of that season, and that was the case with ABC in 1968. So the new show got bumped back to September, where viewers awaited its premiere with more than a little curiosity. Fans know the basic story. A ship called the Spindrift, far in the future in 1983, is carrying passengers to London by way of a suborbital flight. This is a thing that had been discussed a lot. Rather than just fly up to 30 or 40,000 feet and level off, use rocket engines to go up to suborbital altitude, then execute a re-entry to get to your destination. If it's done right, it's a lot faster than commercial air. And by 1983, we figured out how to do it. No doubt about it, the future is going to be awesome. Anyway, the ship gets caught in some kind of spatial anomaly, and they crash land on a planet where everything is huge, and they're roughly the size of these guys. They have to try to survive, avoid becoming lab rats, and figure out how to get back where they belong. Thing is, there were 2 pilot episodes. Once Allen was sure the show had been picked up, he went back and revamped the first one, but the original unaired pilot showed up on the DVD set. After watching both of them back to back, I'm going to do something I haven't done before. I'm going to look at them side by side and discuss what was changed and possibly why. Since these are 2-hour-long episodes, I may have to break this up into multiple parts. I don't know yet. And there's only one way to find out, so let's get started. For the sake of convenience, I'm going to designate them No and Yes. For starters, No begins with a 12-minute cold open in which we not only experience the spatial anomaly, the crash, and all the rest, we get a peek at who the passengers are.
Our young tycoon is at it again.
Betty, would you please go back there and straighten him out about that seatbelt once and for all?
They're talking about Mark Wilson, a young wheeler-dealer who could probably buy the plane and therefore thinks he's more important than the rest of these little people.
You promised you'd fasten it. It's for your own good, Mr. Wilson.
Lady, all my life I've been the best judge of what's good for me, and I'm not about to change. Now, this is good for me. Over $100 million good. So why don't you just go pass out some chewing gum on it?
Chewing gum?
I like Betty already. She'll be as scared as the rest of them, but she won't take that kind of crap from anybody.
How come you didn't mention London's radio report on Commander Fitzhugh?
It's none of my business if there are police waiting for him. Just as long as he doesn't give us any trouble.
Yeah, well, I think they picked the wrong man. He just doesn't look the type that would steal $1 million.
But he did, and it's in that case.
There you go, Barry.
I was just wondering what would happen if those cousins of mine didn't come to meet me. Do you think they will, Miss Hamilton?
Of course they will. And if they don't, honey, I'll take you home with me, and you'll never be an orphan again.
As long as he has his dog Chipper, he's not an orphan. We'll learn that his dad was a Marine lieutenant commander before he died. So far, we don't know how he died or what happened to Barry's mother. That sequence with Barry is one of the few from this opening that was used in Yes. And we have Valerie Scott, an actress of some kind, who also thinks the world revolves around her. Our captain is Steve Burton, and our co-pilot is Dan Erickson. Yes, cut all of that. As I said, the scene with Barry and Betty will appear later, but that's all they kept from this part of No. This entire cold open was cut. What went in its place in the runtime? We'll see.
Come in, London.
Best anybody can tell, London can't hear them at all through this stuff, and it's getting worse.
What's that thing out there, ma'am?
I don't know what it is.
That's terrible. What is it?
Please, everyone, return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. I'm sure it's only some kind of atmospheric disturbance.
If it is, it's an atmospheric disturbance with its own gravitational field because it's pulling the ship into it and there's nothing they can do but ride it out. Oh, I see it now. They're flying through a blizzard. I know what they need.
It's no use, Dan. It's completely out of control.
They could see the whole thing, so they know it's not infinite, and eventually they come out the other side. But there's still nothing on the radio.
Can't be. There's a city down there and we're getting no signals. Take her down.
We don't have tower clearance.
Look down there. As far as you can see, there is no tower to give you clearance.
We don't have any choice. Our power cells are fading.
Okay, old buddy. Let's just hope we hit a soft spot.
Define soft. No, I don't know why it doesn't have any landing gear. It's the distant future 1983. Who knows what could develop by then? Okay, I promise I'll stop doing that. Eventually. This looks nothing like London, and there's nothing on any radio frequency they can tune into. Steve and Dan will go outside and try to figure out where they are. Wherever they are, I think they want to be anywhere else. And now they can hear very loud footsteps approaching.
Everyone, strap in. We're taking off.
Taking off?
Landed.
London is my destination.
What's happening? Where are we? What's the matter? Why are we lifting off?
There's something out there. I just hope it didn't see us.
Something. What's something?
That's something. It's a child, and before they can take off, he picks up the ship. The kid decided that was the best model spaceship ever. Working engine, and it even flies. Now he wants to know where he can buy another one since that one got away. They keep climbing, but at 5,000 feet, they're still surrounded by buildings. Now, a car the size of the Pentagon and a kid the size of Burj Khalifa should be enough to tell them about this place, but at the moment, none of them can wrap their heads around it.
It can't be. It just can't be.
But it do be! It just do be! Steve flies them to a place that appears to have lots of vegetation to hide in and sets them down again. Their power cells are nearly exhausted and they'll need at least 24 hours to recharge.
Gotta set her down and recharge our power cells. We're gonna need enough thrust to reach escape velocity.
Do you really think there is an escape?
Sure, recharge your cells, go back into space, find that thing you flew through and fly through it the other way. Basic physics. But they have a more immediate problem.
Spare me the fairy tales. You know what I'm talking about. I'm on the open market. So what's your price for getting me to London in half an hour?
These guys refuse to believe his story about giants. And Wilson there, our young tycoon, is the type who thinks he can buy his way out of anything.
Look, Captain.
Yeah, letting go is a good idea if you like those fingers the way they are. He says, I'll have the police waiting for you. Basically, the captain says, if you can find a phone, go ahead and call them. Now, when we were watching No, remember the conversation about Fitzhugh and the police?
How come you didn't mention London's radio report on Commander Fitzhugh?
It's none of my business if there are police waiting for him. Just as long as he doesn't give us any trouble.
Yeah, and yes, he heard it. So he's decided it's time for him to take his chances on his own, because he really does have $1 million in cash in that case. You sure about this, dude?
Commander!
Shh, get away. Shh, get back in there.
But Commander!
Come here.
But nobody's supposed to leave the ship. That's a direct order. Every soldier or sailor has to obey a direct order.
Fitzhugh gives him a nice tale about being a secret courier, and there are desperate men out there who would give their lives for the contents of that case. I get the feeling he's one of them. And my own view is that anybody who would give up their life for money didn't have much of a life to give up.
Commander!
Get away, you ruin everything.
This devilish men you mentioned, sir. I think they may be catching up with you.
Where?
Back there.
It's devilish, all right, but he wishes it was men. Our friend there wasn't in, no. I believe he did, however, make several appearances in Sherwood Schwartz's sitcom It's About Time, which I had to put on a different venue because some clown with too much time on his hands kept giving me copyright hassles about it here. Betty has discovered that Fitzhugh and Barry are gone. Oh yeah, so is the dog. Steve will take a hand radio and go out to look for them.
I've got a smashing idea. I'll go with you.
I don't think that'll be necessary. Dan, you keep the landing lights off and don't turn them on for any reason.
Okay, friends, double check me here. I do believe he said leave the lights off and don't turn them off for any reason.
Dan, you keep the landing lights off and don't turn them on for any reason.
What did you hear?
Captain, I've got to see what's out there.
Please.
I suggest you have either Betty or Wilson block the door.
Look, I know what you're going to say, but I had to come.
Would you get back
When will I have another chance like this?
I told you to block the door. That's from No. And yes, we don't see that scene until after this. The perspective shots like that are as well done as such a thing could be done in 1968, and there are even better ones coming. Anyway, in Yes, he gets away, reports to Dan that there are giant spiders out here, and then Valerie joins him. Barry and Fitzhugh have finally figured out that everything Captain Burton told them is true, so they'd better get back to the ship. And besides, they're hearing some growling that'll make your knees weak.
My money!
Fitzhugh, I think your money just became kitty litter.
Close the door! You must get out of here! Hurry up! Fitzhugh! I had to close it! That thing is out for us! There are 2 more people!
That is also out there. Ever wonder what a cat toy feels like? Well, now you know.
Dan's firing the stabilizing retros.
What good could that possibly do? We are doomed! Hopelessly doomed! I know. Shut up.
Eventually, the thruster jets do annoy the cat enough that it goes away. No didn't have any of that. We saw the cat pawing at the ship, cut to something else, and when we came back, everything was fine. That and the lizard are a couple of things that we put in place of that way too long cold open I mentioned. I'm calling them upgrades. Now it's time to go look for the captain and Valerie. Speaking of whom.
What's that?
I don't know. Whatever it is, let's leave it alone.
He really expects her to, especially since their path is taking them right to it.
Burton to Spindrift. Burton to Spindrift. Are you there, Dan? Dan, do you read me?
Neither of them will notice that that thing is obviously a critter trap. It's got bedding, screen windows, and a great big gravity-operated trap door on the front.
Stay out of there.
Don't worry, I won't buy it without my lawyer's advice.
They aren't sure where they are. They don't know that Barry and Fitzhugh are safely back at the ship, and she doesn't know what that thing is. I'm glad she's taking it all so seriously.
Dan, are you? I told you to stay out of there. Don't you ever listen to anyone? We don't know what kind of place.
Do you even have to ask, Steve? Watch her for 30 seconds and you realize she's never listened to anybody but herself in her entire life, which may not last much longer because this whole thing just got worse. At last they know where they are. They're in the land of giant hipsters. This one happens to be a scientist and he's gathering his traps. Dan has been following the movement on radar.
Whatever it was, it must have found them.
Tragic. Tragic. The last hope of our two friends undoubtedly perished.
Shut up, Fitzhugh.
I don't know why he's still hanging onto that case since there's virtually nothing in it. If you're thinking he sounds like another Dr. Smith, self-absorbed, always with his own agenda, and always crying doom and gloom, you're right. The difference here is Fitzhugh is going to have room to grow. He has a chance to be a real human being who develops and learns without us losing the character. Valerie is the same way. We're seeing a vapid, selfish, spoiled brat who thinks the sun rises and sets on her excessive makeup. But as we go along, she's going to learn and grow too. To my mind, it's probably the biggest improvement over the Lost in Space scenario because nobody is a pure villain. They're all real people. And by the way, Mr. Wilson knows how to fix the engines. I wonder if he knows that.
Meanwhile, Mr. Wilson will fix the ship's engines without delay. Won't you?
Look, I don't care whether he does or not. We are not leaving here without Captain Burton or Miss Scott. Now, do I make myself clear?
I'm sure Fitzhugh will accept your authority on that matter.
Sir.
Shh.
That's not regular Navy issue, is it, sir?
Let's just say it's part of our survival kit.
Cool, you can go try it out on that spider. Fitzhugh has fallen prey to one of the big American fantasies. Money, a gun, or both will solve all your problems.
Is that you, Professor?
It's me.
In No, they never spoke. I found that more than a little weird. It was as though they were communicating by telepathy, or not communicating at all. Like that. And he didn't even put in fresh straw for them to poop in. I don't know what happened to Steve's pocket knife, but even without it, they managed to get one of the screens loose and slip out. One reason the show didn't get picked up for a third season was cost. All of these giant sets and props required a budget of $250,000 per episode, which would be just under $2 million today. That's even more than Cop Rock cost. And I don't know what it took to do a shot like this. How convincing is that? As I said, the perspective shots keep getting better. Valerie wants to reveal themselves to the giant and ask for his help. Well, he does speak English, but Steve doesn't think that's a good idea.
Come on, Dan, we're just 6-inch oddities. Maybe you don't mind being kept in a bottle all your life.
life and fed 3 meals a day through an eyedropper, but not for me, thanks.
This guy is obviously a scientist, more precisely an entomologist. That trap was probably supposed to catch the spider or some other crawling critter. You think he won't want to study you? It's too far to jump down, but there's a spool of thread with a needle on the upper part of the desk. It should make a decent climbing rope. And they're caught. While our scientists are putting him in that jar the captain was talking about, Dan is organizing a rescue.
Not much of a grappling hook, I'm afraid.
But it'll work. What's so funny, Fitzhugh?
A bunch of tiny midgets trying to attack a world of giants with a broken razor blade and a safety pin.
Hey, the safety pin is strong and will do the job. The razor blade piece is sharp and can be useful in a lot of ways. And by the way...
Actually, sir, it's not as bad as you say. We do have one more weapon. Your survival gun.
Gun? What gun?
This gun. The one that says we leave right now.
He orders Wilson to fix the engines and tells Dan to get in there and fire up the ship or he'll shoot. Dan says, go ahead and shoot. Then you can figure out how to fly the ship.
Get back. I shoot. I shoot. Shoot. Hold it. Wait for me.
Fitzhugh only just learned that money and a gun won't solve this problem. Wilson figured that out an hour ago. All of this is carried over from No, including this.
What are you looking at?
Nothing, sir.
Is that a snide reference to the fact that I am a nothing?
No, sir. I just thought since you were the only real soldier here, you'd be the first to fight.
If you saw Barry following Fitzhugh around and thought this was going to be another Dr. Smith-Will Robinson thing, put that idea out of your mind. They'll become friends, but not because Barry constantly has to get Fitzhugh out of trouble. Barry will be instrumental in helping Fitzhugh grow, which I have to say is a welcome change from how the whole Will Robinson Dr. Smith thing turned out.
I'm not a military man. I'm just a worthless old nothing. Who's never fought in a war in his life.
But you could, sir. You could now.
This is what I mean about Fitzhugh having room to grow. He knows what he is. Unlike the Zachary Smith character, he's not constantly self-promoting and declaring himself an exhaustive expert on the subject of everything. We're not even through the first episode and he already hit a turning point, and it's as natural as can be. Kurt Kasner was perfect for this role. His look, his voice, his mannerisms, it's like the character was tailor-made for him, which in many ways it was. Irwin Allen gave him a lot of creative freedom the same way he gave it to Jonathan Harris. The difference is Mr. Kasner didn't let it go to his head and take over the show. In fact, if he didn't think Betty, played by Heather Young, was getting enough lines, he would often pass some of his lines to her. He did lots of TV appearances, but this was his only steady series. He was a stage actor by preference. He was born in Vienna when the country was still called Austria-Hungary, and moved to the U.S. when he was 23 to pursue Broadway and other stage venues. I suppose it was inevitable that someone of his talent would end up doing at least some television, but the stage was definitely his first love. Unfortunately, like a lot of people we've seen from this time period, cancer got him before his 66th birthday. I haven't been able to find out what kind, but it probably doesn't matter. Right now, he's Alexander Fitzhugh, and he's battling another potentially debilitating disease, conscience. All that thanks to the innocent questions of a little boy. And by the way, you guys might want to hurry before this guy decides to start dissecting them. where I start having trouble. Valerie wanted to talk to the scientists, so why don't they say something? Every time he probes her with that pencil, she'll whine like a kitten, but neither of them says a word. I find that hard to believe. They've already heard that these giants speak English, so start speaking it back to them.
That's Valerie. Come on.
Given the size of that place and the size of Valerie, I also find it hard to believe they heard her that clearly all the way out here. But we have to get them in the right place somehow. Once they're inside, it's time for a plan.
If you can create a distraction, I think I can climb up there. Start climbing.
Oh, he's got an idea for a distraction, all right.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Kahoo.
Kaboom!
Dan, I believe your way is clear. The professor left a scalpel on the table next to Steve and Valerie, so with a little effort, Dan uses it to cut the tape holding them. With Mark steadying the rope down below, they manage to reach the floor. There's a drain pipe outside that they can take refuge in if they can get to it in time. By the way, you have more help coming. They would have been here sooner, but they got stuck in traffic. And they'd better hurry.
Commander, we gotta do something right away.
In there! Hurry!
This guy took a tiny bullet to the knee, watched these people free their friend, and he still can't take a hint.
Come back!
Let's review here. You grabbed them, you tied them down to a table, you poked and prodded them and made it clear you were getting ready to cut them open. When they got loose, you chased them with a butterfly net. So please explain to me why they would come back. Oh, wait. He tries to reach in after them, but 3 shots from Fitzhugh's gun convince him that that's a bad idea. Which raises the question, how many bullets does he have for that thing? If he only came on board with the basic 6 that were in it, he's got 2 now. I'd use them wisely. The pipe comes out in the underbrush somewhere. While they're catching their breath, Fitzhugh wanders off a bit to be alone.
Look! Somebody! Look! This is the bottom of the barrel. A garbage dump.
You're wrong, dude. That is the mother lode. You won't believe how much useful stuff there's going to be in there. The garbage dump isn't in, though. In that one, he found this. While he's doing that, Steve is trying to give everyone a pep talk and encourage them to help him find a way to fix the ship and get back home. It's not working very well.
I'm afraid Flight 612 to London will be slightly delayed.
Like forever.
Maybe we can just beat that time. Let's go find the ship, Skipper.
Gentlemen, by a strange trick of fate, I may just know the way back.
And that's where No ends. It's followed by a bunch of preview scenes for the next week, and that's that. Yes took a very different path.
Chipper!
It makes sense. Dogs are social animals. They want to sniff each other. Yeah, good luck with that, Chipper. Women, children, and tiny dogs will take refuge in an egg carton while the men try to chase the large dog away. That didn't work. Try something bigger. I'm not totally sure what he did there, but it worked, so I guess we can call that the something bigger.
I can't stand it any longer. This constant nightmare in this hideous world. I want to get out of here! Never knowing what's going to come next. It can't go on. I'm going to get out of here!
From now on, that's just the way it's going to be in this world.
And that's where Yes ends. When this premiered, Cleveland Amory was doing reviews for TV Guide. He used a lot of ink complaining about Fitzhugh and his "I want to get out of here," as if he had said it repeatedly throughout the episode. But you saw his expression. He's already over it and ready to start figuring out how to survive here. And to my knowledge, we won't hear him yell it again. So, Cleve, old buddy, yeah, get over yourself. To tell the truth, if I had been a wealthy investor at the time, I would have sunk as much money into this show as it needed. Those effects are incredible. The sets, the props, the perspective shots, the relative sizes of things, it's all just about perfect. We already know our cast of characters pretty well, with the possible exception of Betty, but she'll have her turn. And already we've seen that she's kind of the linchpin that holds it all together with her calmness and her cool words. That will develop as we go along. And the story is interesting. The word is out that there are tiny people running around here somewhere, and everybody wants to find them and learn more about them. The big problem is they want to do this whether the tiny people like it or not. So not only does our little band have to find ways to get food and water, they have to figure out how to repair their ship and get back up to space so hopefully they can go home. And they have to do all this while evading curious giants that want to mount them on a pin like a butterfly. Some good writers could develop that for decades. Sadly, they didn't get the chance to. We only got 51 episodes. But this was an excellent start. 1 down, 50 to go. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a fun ride. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please click the thumbs up. It really does help the channel. If you're not subscribed yet, the button looks something like this. So click it and join our little family. There's a bell there that may or may not actually work to give you notifications when we post something, but it can't hurt to click it just in case. You can also join our Patreon for as little as $2 a month and help me keep expanding and improving the channel. The link is in the description, along with links to a lot of other fun stuff I do. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I do hope that's one of ours.